Okay, well, if he comes in, we'll go back to him. But John, board, I do see John. So John, good afternoon, and you have the floor.
Hey, good afternoon, Senator, and congratulations on becoming chair.
Thank you, sir.
Chair Slapp, Chair Elliott, Ranking Member Whitgos, Ranking Members Haynes, and members of the Higher Education and Employment Advancement Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on Senate Bill 997, the Faculty Representation Bill. As you all know by now, my name is John Boyd, a graduate of the CSCU system and former member of the Student Advisory Committee of the Board of Regents. For members who have served on this committee for some time, it should not be a surprise to you that I'm actually in favor of this bill, specifically the Section 2 provisions. However, I am, quite frankly, a little surprised that this committee did not include at first glance the student representation counterpart for this public hearing. The student representation counterpart is House Bill 6230. I look forward to joining with students and fellow alumni to make the case for this bill at a future hearing. Over the last 7 years, I have constantly put forth this CSCU representation bill to bring parity to and for students. Last term, the committee voted out the student representation bill by an overwhelming margin of 16-6, with a broad bipartisan coalition in support and on the bill as co-sponsors. It ended up getting a favorable vote in the Senate and died in the House as a victim of the clock. God, sine die thing. I would hope that members of this committee would strongly consider adding the student representation bill as an amendment to this legislation. I've attached my previous Restore the Representation one-pager from previous sessions for the committee's consideration. The proposal reforms the Board of Regents, allows the legislature to take back control, and provides for faculty and student proportional representation. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions which the committee may have. Thank you.
John, thanks. I do have a quick question for you. So I think many of us may agree with you in theory about, that student representation is important. Why is it important in practice too? Can you give an example of, how that would have an impact, or maybe something that's occurred in the past that you don't think would have if the students were better represented?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator, and thanks for the question. I think that a lot of this tuition increases over the past, especially during my first year on the SAC back in 2015, could have been avoided, quite frankly. And I'm saying both on a CSCU level as well as on a UConn level as well. While I think at some points maybe those increases, looking back, potentially may have been necessary, greater student representation could have maybe helped to minimize or reduce some of those some of those proposed recommendations or implemented recommendations. So I very much believe that I think, quite frankly, allowing you guys as the legislature to take some of the control back from the governor, and this isn't a Republican Democrat thing, I'm saying from an institutional point, I think that there is a lot of weight to having students on the board. Now, I know the criticism has been in the past, students are not all that informed, but I think we're in a different time nowadays. Over the last 2, 3, 4 years, students have become engaged, and I have seen a big shift in student government engagement even since I've left university and graduated from university.
Great. Thank you, John. Okay, I don't see any of my colleagues with questions, so that's great. I appreciate your patience, hanging in there, and your advocacy. So thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Hey, thanks so much, Senator. Have a good one.
All right, you as well.